They thought humanity's patience was endless, that Earth would negotiate, plead, or bury its dead in silence. But the moment the footage of the massacre reached home, every screen on Earth lit up with a single, chilling message asterisk. The Breaking Point commander, Sarah Reynolds, had spent 12 years in deep space. But nothing prepared her for what waited at Meridian 7. Her patrol vessel dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find a thriving research station. Instead, her sensors showed only silence. The station floated against the purple nebula like a broken toy. No lights, no signals, no life signs. Sarah felt her stomach tighten as they approached. She had trained for many scenarios, but the cold quiet of dead space always frightened her most. Her crew prepared to board. Lieutenant Chen checked his equipment 3 times. Corporal Martinez whispered a prayer. They all knew something terrible had happened here. They just did not know how terrible yet. The airlock opened with a hiss. The station still had atmosphere, but it smelled wrong. Burnt metal and something worse. Something organic. Sarah led her team through the corridors, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. They found the first bodies in the main research lab. Scientists who had been working on agricultural projects to help feed colony worlds. They were still at their stations. The Krell had killed them while they worked, without warning, without mercy. Sarah had seen death before. She had lost friends in accidents and natural disasters. But this was different. This was murder. Deliberate and cruel. The Krell had not just killed these people. They had made them suffer first. The crew moved through the station in shocked silence. 15,000 people had lived here. Researchers from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. They had brought their families. There were schools here, gardens, a small hospital. It had been a community, a place of hope and discovery. Now it was a tomb dot in the central hub. They found the message. The Krell had left it playing on a loop. A reptilian face filled the screen, its 3 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The translation program rendered its words in cold, mechanical English. Humanity speaks of peace and cooperation. You offer friendship to the weak and shelter to the helpless. You call yourselves civilized. The creature laughed, a sound like grinding stone. But civilization is a lie that prey tell themselves. There are only predators and prey in this universe. You are prey. This station proves it. The message continued. We took what we wanted from your research. Then we took your people. We made examples of them. Let this be a lesson to your kind. Power respects only power. Mercy is for the weak, and the weak do not survive. Sarah watched the message twice. Then she ordered her crew to document everything. Everybody. Every crime scene. Every piece of evidence. The galaxy needed to see this. Needed to understand what had been done here. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Sarah sent her report ahead at faster than light speed. She included the recordings, the data, everything. By the time her ship entered Earth orbit, the entire human sphere had seen the footage. Earth had been part of the Galactic Assembly for 60 years. In that time, humanity had built a reputation for fairness and compassion. When wars broke out between alien species, human mediators worked to find peaceful solutions. When famine struck distant worlds, human aid ships arrived with food and medicine. When refugees needed sanctuary, human colonies opened their doors. Other species called humans naive. They said humanity was too soft for the harsh realities of galactic politics. Some laughed at human idealism. Others took advantage of human generosity. But humanity continued to choose the peaceful path, believing that civilization meant rising above base instincts. Meridian 7 changed everything. Sarah was summoned to Earth. Command immediately upon landing. She had never been to the underground complex beneath Geneva. Few had. It existed as a contingency, a place where humanity's leaders could gather in absolute security. She stood before the unified Earth Council. Representatives from every nation, every colony, every human settlement. Their faces showed the same emotions she felt: grief, rage, and something else. Something cold and determined. The Secretary General spoke first. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. Commander Reynolds, your report has been reviewed. The evidence is clear. The Krell Consortium deliberately attacked a civilian research station. They murdered 15,000 unarmed people. They left a message mocking our values and our way of life. Sarah nodded. She had nothing to add. The facts spoke for themselves. We have appealed to the Galactic Assembly, the Secretary General continued. We asked them to condemn this act, to impose sanctions, to demand justice. She paused. They refused. The Assembly claims this is a bilateral dispute. They say we should negotiate with the Krell directly. Some delegates suggested we provoke the attack by establishing the station too close to Krell space. Anger flashed through Sarah. The station had been in neutral territory, carefully placed to avoid any conflicts. But she said nothing. She simply waited. The Secretary General looked around the room at the other council members. For 60 years, we have chosen to be civilized. We have restrained our military. We have offered cooperation instead of confrontation. We believe that showing strength through peace would earn us respect. Her voice hardened. We were wrong? One of the military advisors stood. Admiral James Cortez was a legend in the fleet. He had designed Earth's defense systems and trained 3 generations of officers. He was also known as a man who preferred diplomacy to warfare. Until now. The vote has been taken, Cortez said. The decision is unanimous. Protocol Exodus is now active. He turned to Sarah. Commander, you will return to your ship. You will join the fleet, assembling at the Jupiter staging point. We are going to show the Krell and the entire galaxy something they have never seen before. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. Sir, what exactly is Protocol Exodus? Cortez smiled, but there was no warmth in it. It is what humanity has been preparing for since we first met alien life. It is every contingency plan, every secret project, every weapon system we hoped we would never need. For 60 years, we pretended to be harmless. We let the galaxy think we were peaceful because we were weak. He leaned forward. They're about to learn the truth. We are peaceful because we chose to be. That choice has now been revoked. The council meeting ended. Sarah returned to her ship. As she walked through the corridors, she saw her crew preparing for deployment. They moved with purpose now. The shock had worn off. What remained was focus and determination. 3 days later, the Secretary General addressed the Galactic Assembly. The broadcast reached every corner of known space. Her message was brief. Members of the Assembly, humanity came to you seeking justice. We showed you evidence of a massacre. We asked for your support. You gave us nothing but excuses and empty words. She paused. For 60 years, we have been members of this assembly. We have contributed resources, knowledge, and goodwill. We have helped build hospitals, negotiate treaties, and feed the hungry. We did this because we believed in the ideals this body claimed to represent. Her expression turned cold. The Krell Consortium murdered 15,000 human civilians. They mocked our values and our civilization. And you did nothing. So now we will handle this ourselves. She leaned toward the camera. Effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from all assembly peacekeeping operations. All humanitarian aid is suspended. All diplomatic missions are recalled. All treaties are under review. The chamber erupted in protest. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others made threats. The Secretary General ignored them all. We tried to show you a better way. We offered you our best selves. You answered with indifference and contempt. So now you will see what we kept hidden. Now you will understand what we truly are. She stood. We were going to war. Not a civilized war with rules and limitations. Not a war for territory or resources. We are going to erase the Krell Consortium from existence. Completely. Permanently. And if anyone interferes, if anyone offers them aid or shelter, we will consider that an act of war against humanity. The broadcast ended. Across human space, the transformation began. Factories retooled for military production. Volunteers lined up at recruitment centers. Hidden shipyards in the outer system came online, revealing vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen before. The Krell received a single message from Earth, just 4 words. Now we stop being civilized. The message confused them. They laughed about it in their war councils. The humans were prey. Prey did not frighten predators. They prepared for a short conflict, expecting humanity to surrender after a few minor defeats. They could not have been more wrong. Because humanity had spent 60 years preparing for this day, preparing for the moment when being civilized was no longer enough, when kindness and restraint would no longer protect them, that moment had arrived. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you pushed. Humanity, too far, thought the gentle giants were done being gentle. The awakening, the Krell High Command received their first warning 3 days after Earth's declaration. It came not as a diplomatic message, but as a simple fact. Their border fleet of 200 warships vanished in less than an hour. No distress calls. No battle reports. The ships were there one moment, gone the next. The Krell sent scout vessels to investigate. Those scouts never returned either. It was as if something in deep space was quietly erasing Krell presence ship by ship. Supreme Commander Vexel stared at the tactical display in disbelief. He was a veteran of 30 campaigns. He had conquered 4-star systems for the Consortium. He had never seen anything like this. Entire fleets did not simply disappear. What are we facing? He demanded of his intelligence officers. They had no answers. Human vessels had been tracked leaving Earth's space, but they moved differently than expected. They were faster. Their energy signatures were strange, and there were far more of them than intelligence reports had indicated. How many ships do the humans have? Vex Hill asked at the intelligence officer's scales paled. We estimate at least 3,000 capital ships, Supreme Commander. Perhaps twice that number. Impossible. Our spies reported they had fewer than 400 vessels total. Our spies were shown what the humans wanted us to see. Sir, Vexel felt something unfamiliar creep into his chest. Fear. The humans had been hiding their true strength for decades. Every diplomatic smile, every peaceful gesture, every act of restraint had been a mask. Behind it, they had been building an armada. Admiral James Cortez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first dreadnought-class warship. The vessel was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that existed only in classified files. Around it, the silent armada assembled. 3,000 warships that had been constructed in secret over 6 decades. The plan had been simple. Build the ships. Hide them in the outer system among the asteroids and ice fields. Maintain them with automated systems. Keep them ready. Hope they would never be needed. Every human leader since first contact had known about the silent armada. Everyone had prayed it would remain a secret forever. But secrets could only last so long. And now, the galaxy would see what humanity had truly been preparing for. All vessels report ready, Admiral, his tactical officer announced. Cortez nodded slowly. He had designed many of these ships himself. He knew every weapon system, every defensive capability, every tactical advantage they possessed. He had spent 40 years making sure that if humanity ever went to war, it would be a war they could win absolutely. Begin Operation Reckoning, he ordered. Target all Krell military installations within 50 light years. Primary targets are shipyards, supply depots, and command centers. Civilian infrastructure is to be avoided where possible. He paused. But if the Krell use civilians as shields, we go through them. His officers executed the orders without hesitation. They had all seen the footage from Meridian 7. They had all watched the recorded message. From the Krell, mercy was a luxury humanity could no longer. A forward dot, the first human. Strike hit the Krell shipyards at Thorin Station. The Krell had built massive orbital facilities there, capable of producing 50 warships per year. It was the industrial heart of their military power. Human vessels emerged from hyperspace already firing. But these were not the plasma cannons and missile systems the galaxy knew. These were weapons born from 6 decades of secret research. Gravity disruptors that crushed ships like paper. Quantum torpedoes that phased through shields as if they did not exist. Particle beams that burned hotter than stars. The Krell defenders tried to respond. Their ships were powerful, their weapons formidable. They had terrorized smaller species for generations. Against human technology, they were obsolete. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, Thorin Station was debris. Every shipyard, every factory, every military vessel was gone. The human fleet had suffered 0 casualties. They did not stop to celebrate. They simply moved to the next target. Across Krell space, the pattern repeated. Human forces struck with precision and overwhelming power. They destroyed military targets with surgical efficiency. Krell commanders tried to adapt, tried to find weaknesses in human tactics. There were none. Humanity had studied Krell warfare for decades. They knew every strategy, every formation, every trick the Krell might use. The Krell knew nothing about true human capabilities. They had been fighting a ghost, an illusion of weakness that humanity had carefully maintained. Now the illusion was shattered, and reality was devastating. Supreme Commander Vexthal tried to rally his forces. He pulled ships from occupied territories, recalled fleets from distant campaigns, marshaled every military asset the Consortium possessed. He would make a stand at the fortress world of Krelver, where planetary shields and ground-based weapons could support the fleet. The human armada arrived 4 days later. Vexthal watched from the command center as human ships took position around his world. He expected them to demand surrender, to offer terms, to behave like civilized beings. Instead, they simply began firing. The planetary shields, supposedly impenetrable, lasted 3 hours. The ground fortifications lasted 2 more. The Krell fleet managed to destroy exactly 7 human vessels before being annihilated. 7 ships out of 800 that had participated in the assault as the bombardment continued. Vexthal opened the communication channel to the human fleet. He needed to understand what was happening. Needed to find some way to stop this nightmare. Admiral Cortez's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. There was no anger in his expression, no hatred, just cold purpose. Supreme Commander, Cortez said simply. Why? Vexthal asked. Why this destruction? We can negotiate. We can pay reparations. We can surrender the territory around Meridian 7. Name your price. Cortez was quiet for a moment. There's no price. No negotiation. No surrender that we will accept. Then what do you want? We want you to understand what you did. You killed 15,000 unarmed researchers. You murdered families. You made children watch their parents die. Cortez leaned forward slightly. You did this to teach us a lesson, to show us that mercy is weakness, that civilization is a lie. We were wrong, Vexthal said quickly. We see that now. Humanity is strong. You have proven this. There is no need for further bloodshed. You are right about one thing, Cortez replied. You were wrong, but not in the way you think. Civilization is not a lie. Mercy is not weakness. We practiced both for 60 years, not because we were incapable of violence, but because we chose to rise above it. The bombardment intensified. Vexthal could feel the fortress shaking around him. You forced us to make a different choice, Cortez continued. You showed us that the galaxy respects only force. That kindness is seen as opportunity. That peace is mistaken for cowardice. His voice hardened. So we are teaching you a lesson in return. We are showing you what happens when humanity stops being civilized. When we stop restraining ourselves. When we apply the same ruthlessness to war that we once applied to peace. Please, Vexthal said. My world has billions of civilians. They are not warriors. They did not attack your station. The people on Meridian 7 were not warriors either. They were scientists trying to help the galaxy. That did not save them. We will face justice. We will stand trial. Just stop this destruction. Cortez shook his head slowly. There will be no trials. No justice system in the galaxy is equipped to handle what you did. No punishment would be adequate, so we have created our own justice. He paused. The Krell Consortium will cease to exist. Your military will be eliminated. Your government will be dissolved. Your empire will become a memory that reminds other species what happens when they mistake human restraint for human weakness. The communication ended. The bombardment continued through the night and into the next day. By the time human forces moved on, Krulver was no longer a fortress world. It was a broken planet, its military power erased. Its defenses shattered. News of the assault spread through the galaxy at the speed of light. Other species watched in shock as the peaceful humans systematically dismantled Krell power. The mathematics were brutal. The Krell Consortium had ruled its territory for 400 years. Humanity was destroying it in 4 months. The Galactic Assembly called emergency sessions. Delegates who had dismissed human pleas for justice now demanded that humanity show restraint. They spoke of proportional response and rules of warfare. They insisted that the conflict had gone too far. Earth's response was brief and direct. You had your chance to intervene. You chose not to. Now stay out of our way. 3 aggressive species that had been planning raids on human territory suddenly announced they were pursuing peaceful relations. Instead, 2 others that had territorial disputes with humanity dropped all claims and offered friendship treaties. They had seen what happened to the Krell. They had no desire to next. Admiral Cortez received reports from across the combat theater. Human forces were advancing on all fronts. Casualties were minimal. Victory was certain. Everything was proceeding according to plan. He should have felt satisfaction. Instead, he felt only emptiness. He had spent his life preparing for war while hoping for peace. Now he had the war he had prepared for, and it was exactly as terrible as he had imagined. But there was no turning back. Humanity had made its choice. The galaxy would learn to respect that choice, or it would learn to fear it. Either way, the lesson would be permanent. The gentle giants had awakened, and they would not sleep again until their enemies were dust and memory. The new reality 3 months after the war began, Admiral Cortez received an unexpected message. It came from the Krell home system, from a leader whose name he did not recognize. The consortium government had collapsed. Regional commanders were fighting among themselves. The empire was fracturing from within. The message was simple. We surrender, unconditionally. Please stop. Cortez forwarded the message to Earth Command and waited for instructions. The response took 6 hours. When it arrived, it contained coordinates and a single order. Proceed to the Krell home system. Complete the operation. The human armada assembled at the edge of Krell Prime's solar system. It was a beautiful star system with twin suns and 7 habitable worlds. The Krell had built magnificent cities here over thousands of years. Crystal towers reached into the clouds. Vast gardens stretched across continents. It was the jewel of their civilization. 40 billion Krell lived in this system. Most were civilians who had never participated in military operations. They were artists and teachers, farmers and engineers. They were families with children who played in those gardens and dreamed of futures that would never come. Cortez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and looked at the tactical display. Around him, his officers waited silently. They all knew what was about to happen. They all carried the weight of it. Admiral, his communications officer, said quietly, "We are receiving thousands of broadcasts from the surface. Surrender offers. Pleas for mercy. Messages from hospitals and schools." She paused. "They are asking us to spare the children." The bridge was completely silent. Every officer remembered Meridian 7. Every one of them had seen the footage of human children who had received no mercy, who had died frightened and alone while their killers laughed. "Open a channel to the Krell leadership," Cortez ordered. A face appeared on the screen. It was an elderly Krell female, her scales dulled with age. She wore simple robes, not the military armor of warriors. "I am Elder Sivral," she said. "I speak for what remains of our government. Please, Admiral. We surrender. Take our worlds. Take our resources. Dismantle our military. We will accept any terms. Just spare our people. Cortez studied her face. He saw genuine fear there. And something else. The recognition of doom. She knew what was coming. She was simply trying to save what she could. Elder Civral, he said slowly. Your military attacked a civilian research station. They murdered 15,000 unarmed people. They tortured families. They killed children. His voice remained calm and measured. Your leaders left a message mocking our civilization and our values. They called mercy weakness. They said the strong take what they want, and the weak exist only to serve or die. That was not me, Civral said desperately. That was not most of our people. Those were the actions of military extremists, of those who believed might made right. The common people of Krell Prime had no part in those decisions. The common people of Meridian 7 had no part in galactic politics either, Cortez replied. They were simply trying to develop better crops to feed hungry worlds. That did not save them. Civral's eyes closed briefly. So this is vengeance? No, Cortez said. Vengeance implies anger. What we are doing is far colder than that. We are teaching the galaxy a lesson. We are demonstrating what happens when you attack humanity, when you mistake our restraint for weakness, when you force us to abandon the principles we value most, by becoming the monsters you claim to hate. Cortez was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he finally said. That is exactly what we are becoming. And we will carry that burden forever, but the galaxy will remember. For 1,000 years, species will tell stories about what happened to the Krell, about what happens when you push humanity too far, about the price of teaching the gentle giants to be cruel. Please, Civral whispered. At least spare the children. They are innocent. So were ours. The channel closed. Cortez turned to his weapons officer. The man looked sick, but his hands were steady. Target all major population centers, Cortez ordered. Execute Protocol Exodus. Final phase. The officer hesitated only a moment. Sir, there are 40 billion lives on those worlds. I know exactly how many there are. Commander, execute the order. Human weapons. Fire lit up the Krell home system. But this was not the surgical precision of earlier strikes. This was total warfare. The kind that humanity had sworn never to wage again after the horrors of their own world wars. The kind that erased civilizations. The Krell had advanced defensive systems. They had planetary shields and orbital weapons platforms. They had underground bunkers and evacuation protocols. None of it mattered. Humanity had spent 60 years studying how to break every defense in the galaxy. They had weaponized physics elf. The bombardment lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Krell home system was silent. The crystal towers had fallen. The gardens were ash. The cities were ruins. Survivors existed only in scattered groups. Refugees fleeing in whatever ships they could find. The Krell Consortium, which had ruled its territory for 4 centuries, no longer existed as a political entity. Its military was destroyed. Its government was dissolved. Its people were scattered across the galaxy, refugees seeking shelter from species that had once feared them. News of the Krell home system's fall spread through the galaxy. Like a shockwave, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session. Delegates spoke of war crimes and atrocities. They demanded that humanity face justice for what it had done. Earth's ambassador to the assembly was a man named Director Thomas Wright. He had replaced the previous ambassador, who had resigned in protest. Wright was a career intelligence officer, not a diplomat. He did not smile or make reassuring speeches. He stood before the assembly and listened to their accusations in silence. When they finished, he spoke without notes or preparation. For 60 years, humanity participated in this assembly. We offered aid to those in need. We mediated conflicts. We built hospitals on your worlds and schools for your children. We believed in the ideals this institution claimed to represent. He paused. Then the Krell murdered 15,000 of our people. We came to you seeking justice. You gave us nothing. Protests erupted from various delegations. Wright waited for silence. We learned a valuable lesson from you. We learned that the galaxy respects only power, that mercy is in his opportunity, that civilization means nothing without the strength to enforce it. He looked around the chamber. So we enforced it. We destroyed the Krell as a warning to every species here. Touch humanity's civilians and we will erase you from existence. Completely. Permanently. This is barbarism. Someone shouted. Yes. Red agreed calmly. It is. We became barbarians because being civilized made us targets. You taught us that lesson. We learned it well. An alien delegate stood, its voice filled with outrage. What gives humanity the right to decide who lives and dies? To destroy entire civilizations? Right's expression did not change. The same right the Krell claimed when they attacked Meridian 7, the right of the strong. The law of power. You created this system. You maintained it. You enforced it through your inaction. Now you complain when we master the rules you established. There will be consequences, another delegate warned. Other species will unite against this threat. They are welcome to try, Wright replied. But they should understand what they are facing. The fleet that destroyed the Krell represents less than 40% of human military capability. We have more ships, more weapons, more willingness to use them. Any species that challenges us will share the Krell's fate. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Assembly permanently. We will establish our own sphere of influence. Any species that wishes peaceful relations with us is welcome. Any species that threatens us or our allies will be eliminated. The choice is yours. Wright left the chamber. Behind him, the delegates sat in shocked silence. The galaxy had changed. The balance of power had shifted. And everyone understood that the age of the gentle giants was over. Back on Earth, Commander Sarah Reynolds stood at the memorial site on Meridian 7. The bodies had been buried properly now. 15,000 names were carved into black stone. Flowers grew around the monument. Brought by visitors from across human space. She read the names slowly, remembering faces from the reports. Scientists who had been working on drought-resistant crops. Engineers designing better water purification systems. Teachers who helped alien children learn to read. All dead. All murdered for the crime of being human and vulnerable. A young officer approached her. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes had graduated from the academy just before the war started. He had served on one of the ships at Krell Prime. His face still carried the haunted look of someone who had seen too much death too quickly. Commander, he said quietly, I need to ask you something. Go ahead, Lieutenant. Was it worth it? What we did to the Krell, the billions we killed. Was it worth it? Sarah looked back at the memorial. I do not know, she said honestly. I know we had to respond. I know we could not let the massacre go unpunished. But did we go too far? Did we become the very thing we hated? She shook her head. I think we will spend the rest of our lives trying to answer that question. Other species fear us now, Hayes said. They call us the Terrors. The species that wears a mask of civilization but hides savagery beneath. Perhaps that is who we really are, Sarah replied. Perhaps we were always capable of this cruelty, and we simply needed the right provocation to reveal it. Or perhaps we were genuinely peaceful, and the galaxy forced us to become something else. She turned to face him. Either way, we cannot go back. We can only move forward. Across human space, life was changing. New colony ships launched, but now they traveled with military escorts. Civilian vessels carried weapons. Every settlement had defense systems that could hold off an invasion fleet. Humanity was building a fortress among the stars, but they were still building, still exploring, still reaching for new worlds. The You's New Dawn departed Earth 3 months after the war ended. It carried 2 million colonists to a distant star system. The ship's captain was a woman named Isabella Martinez. She had lost her sister on Meridian-7 as the ship prepared to jump to hyperspace. Martinez recorded a message for the colonists. We are traveling to a new world to build a new home. We carry with us the dreams of humanity. But we also carry the lessons we have learned. She paused. We learned that the galaxy is not kind to the peaceful. That strength without the will to use it is meaningless. That civilization requires not just ideals, but the power to protect those ideals. The colony ship's engines began to glow. We will build our new home with weapons in hand. We will offer friendship, but we will be ready for war. We will be kind, but never weak. We will be merciful, but never helpless. Martinez looked directly into the camera. We are still human. We still dream of a better future. But we will never again allow ourselves to be victims. We will never again watch our children die while the galaxy does nothing. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its passengers toward an uncertain future. On Earth, Admiral Cortez stood in his office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of red and gold. It reminded him of fire, of burning worlds and fallen cities. He thought about the Krell often, about the billions who had died, about the children who would never grow up, about the civilization that humanity had erased from existence. He wondered if they had made the right choice, if there had been another way, if they could have found justice without becoming monsters themselves. But he knew the answer. The galaxy had given them no choice. And in the end, humanity had proven something important. They had proven that kindness was a choice, not a weakness. That restraint was a decision, not an inability. For 60 years, humanity had chosen to be civilized. They had offered the galaxy their best selves. When the galaxy answered with blood and mockery, humanity made a different choice. They chose survival. They chose strength. They chose to never be victims again. The cost of that choice was high. Humanity had lost its innocence. They had become feared instead of loved. They had proven they could be just as cruel as any species in the galaxy. But they had also proven they would endure, that they would protect their own, that attacking humanity carried a price too terrible for any species to pay. The sun disappeared below the horizon. Darkness fell across the ocean. Cortez turned from the window and returned to his work. There were reports to review, fleets to position, defenses to maintain. The war was over, but humanity's vigilance would never end. They had learned their lesson well. The galaxy was not a place for gentle giants. It was a place where strength determined survival, where power dictated respect, where the civilized survived only if they were willing to become uncivilized when necessary. Humanity had become uncivilized, and the galaxy would never forget it. The memorial on Meridian 7 stood silent under alien stars. The flowers swayed gently in the wind. The names of the dead remained carved in stone, and across the galaxy, species whispered warnings to their children. Warnings about the humans, about the species that had shown the universe a mask of peace while building weapons in the darkness, about the gentle giants who stopped being gentle. The age of human kindness had ended. The age of human strength had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.